Hello, and welcome to AT&T BizTalks Roundtable. I'm your host for today's episode, Shelly Kramer. I'm a founding partner and lead analyst at Futurum Research. And today we are going to take a look over the course of the last year. We're going to talk about some trends that we've spotted and what we think the trends are that'll shape the year to come. It's been an odd year. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And it was entirely different than what we experienced in 2020. But it's nowhere near a return to where we were pre-pandemic. And we're certainly not through the pandemic yet, unfortunately. So there are tons of things at work in human resources, things that relate to the supply chain, and other things that'll keep changing as we move into the future. Fortunately for all of us, I am joined today by a crew of truly brilliant individuals. And we are going to talk about what's coming in 2022, what you can do to prepare for that year ahead. And I'm so thrilled to be joined by Helen Yu, Glen Gilmore, and Kevin Jackson for this incredibly timely conversation. Helen, Glen, Kevin, we are longtime friends. It is always great to spend time with you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to jump in and, before we get started, I always love for guests to kind of walk us through a little bit about your background. Helen, I'm going to start with you. Share a little bit about your background, your career path, what you focus on these days.
Hi, Shelly. It's lovely to see you again. And it's that time of the year, every time I get together with you. Greetings from Chicago. I am the founder and CEO of Tectonic Advisory Corp. In that role, I actually advise companies to grow and scale their business. And I recently joined Brightcore as a startup to lead their services team there. So I'm still working with other companies like AT&T for this type of opportunities, and then but I spend majority of my time working with the startup Brightcore. It's a pleasure being here. I look forward to having this conversation again with Kevin, and then also meeting Glen here as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're thrilled to have you. Kevin, tell us a little, you've got a lot going on in your world over the course of the last year. Tell us a little bit.
No, great. Thank you very much for bringing it here. In fact, I'm normally up in Virginia or DC, but today I'm down in Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm going to be streaming the Veterans Bowl on Saturday. You probably know, many of you know, I'm a U.S. Naval Academy graduate. So this weekend is Army Navy. Go Navy, beat Army. And because I was a carrier pilot, I flew on and off aircraft carriers in the Navy for quite a while. But that's really where I got into advanced technology with the Navy space program and the early Intel link with the which was the Defense Department's internet. And ever since then, this is where I've been trying to leverage advanced technology to create brand new business models and helping organizations really digitize themselves. Before, digitalization was cool. So now I'm the host of the Digital Transformers, where we get the opportunity to interview a lot of industry leaders about how they are transforming their organization and creating these brand new business models. And it's just, I tell you, working with Glen and Helen and you, it's been a great 2021.
It has. We've done lots of exciting things. Kevin, one of the things that I like to say is that my team and I have been working with clients moving from an analog business model to a digital business model for the last decade plus. And, it was before we coined the term digital transformation. So like you, and I know like Helen and Glen as well, we've been all in the trenches doing these initiatives before we even were calling them what they are today. And with that, Glen, welcome. It's great to see you again. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I should note that I am an Army veteran, and so Kevin, I'm going to say go Army. Go Army. I'm a Jersey boy, and actually served as mayor of a city for 8 years, and was also on the board of a university hospital during that time as well. And I've also now transitioned as an educator at Rutgers University, where I'm an adjunct and have the good fortune of teaching courses from emerging technologies in supply chain management to looking at digital transformation in our world, and just sharing a passion that I have for technology and the good things that it can do for all of us and for our communities.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's no better way to spend your life. I mean, I have this conversation with people all the time. I love what it is I get up every day and think about and do and work with clients on. And we're just at a time where we've seen massive change. We have massive change ahead. That's exciting. It's scary, but in a good way. And so like all of you, I feel very fortunate that this is how I get to spend my days and my time. So welcome to the show. It's great to have all of you. And we are now going to dive right into our conversation. So you mentioned supply chain, Glenn. Kevin, this is a question that I want to lob your way. The last year was a year when everybody learned about supply chain, right? I mean, in the early days of 2020 and the pandemic, we learned about, toilet paper and what a necessity it was and how tragic it was when there was a shortage. And we had lots of other shortages too. And as we've moved into 2021, we've had all kinds of issues with supply chain, semiconductors, not being able to get our hands on goods and services the way we have in the past. And we've taken a lot of things for granted. So, we had some time in 2021 to oh, I'm sorry. I lost my attention there for just a second. But, so now today,
Yeah.
everybody's talking about supply chain and it is impacting all of our lives and all of our businesses. Do you see more of that ahead for us in 2021, Kevin? What are your thoughts there?
Well, actually, right now, I just hear in my head my wife saying, "You go to the store and there's nothing on the shelves."
I
you know, it's like Black Friday, clean out everything. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I think the pendulum may be swinging too far in the other way with respect to the industry and a current rush towards nearshoring and reshoring of the supply chain. This is kind of a reflexive response that's starting to fire up inflation in just about every economy. And this will cause yet another kind of economic shock. Nothing on the shelves now, and I can't afford what's on the shelves. But a better option would be more of a strategic balance between offshoring, nearshoring, and reshoring some of the capabilities in the supply chain, and really getting more options for all of the products that we want,
Right.
and an expanded adoption of technology so that organizations can get more visibility into the supply chain is really the direction to go. This would, by enhancing supply chain visibility,
Right.
you can actually focus on data-driven decisions
Right.
and redesigning your business processes so that you know what's happening, and executives can and managers can make informed decisions. And this to get away from this, on again, off again. We have everything, we don't have anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and I think, we learned a lot of lessons. And, one of the things that I think that we know is in many instances we saw organizations relying on just one supplier
Mhm.
that got them in trouble, or who hadn't yet integrated technology solutions into supply chain operations. So you didn't have a clear view across the board, of what the needs of the business were and things like that. And we'd gotten very accustomed to sort of just in time procurement. And so we've been in a period where we've done lots and lots of evaluation of our, existing processes and how we might need to change those a little bit. So Helen, I want to talk with you a little bit, so we went we went crazy in 2020. We had to pivot, we had to shift, we had to change business operations and on a dime, we had to reinvent, we had to transform. And, so it's amazing, but that was in 2020. That started in 2020. Now we're almost at the end of 2021, which seems incredibly quick. Um, but it's so we had a year to kind of be strategic about what some of the changes we put into place in 2020 we needed to make permanent, or what other changes we were going to make. What are you seeing out there, talking with your customers, organizations across the board? What have you been seeing that companies have done with regard to, strategic thinking?
That's a wonderful question, Shelly. We all agree that we went through years of transformation within 2 months, right? This year feels like just 2 months when really,
Right.
and it proves that organization can excel with the right transformation
Right.
through the technology advancement. And it will be, three things I've seen, right? First, it will be even more critical to continue to invest, innovate, and optimize processes and tools to adapt to the changing environment and operate with resilience. And then the second thing I've seen is with hybrid remote work becoming the norm, a connection with the employees, customers, and other stakeholders are critical, right? It really become the more strategic part of the business. You have to find a way to better connect. Specifically, you look at today, most organizations I work with, they leverage social media or influencer marketing to strengthen their go-to-market strategy. And then, the third thing I've seen, the vibrant social movements and complexity of regulatory environment, it requires more flexibility and contingency planning and execution. So all those really things are driving the force of change and driving the transformation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great thoughts there, Helen. So, Glenn, last but never least in this particular conversation. So, what are the big trends that you see sticking around even after, it's funny because we talk about, well, are we getting to some semblance of normalcy? I don't know. I mean, I feel like every time I think, oh, we're making great progress, then, another situation comes along. So, I don't feel like we're out of the woods at all yet, but I'd love to hear what you're thinking about just some of what's happened over the course of the last couple of years and what you see sticking around moving forward.
I think when we talk about digital transformation, we generally talk about companies going through this process. But what COVID did was it made us all part of the move to transform digitally. Hybrid work is something that is going to stay. And
Right.
it's going to stay because it's shown us that employees can be trusted working from home, working from remote locations. I love the fact that it brought so many people with disabilities into the workforce where before they were told, well, they can't work remotely. Well, we now all work remotely.
Right.
And hybrid work, I think, is a positive because it has sustainability. It environmentally is more sound. For parents, it lets them weave work and parenting together. And I think that's a real positive from what's happened. So hybrid work is going to stay with us. We also have learned that we can be much more efficient with healthcare and being able to have consultations with medical professionals, do it remotely, do it more quickly, do it more sanely, without having to sit in a doctor's office for hours waiting for an appointment that really should be seen more efficiently. So we're seeing a lot of efficiencies that digital transformation has given to us, and I think that's going to be the trend: hybrid, online, digital, from shopping to online education. We're getting better at it. We're getting smarter at it, and I think it will improve.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite dad line is, and I use it all the time, is that we don't know we don't know what we don't know
Mm,
until we know.
right, right.
Okay.
Sure.
And I mean, we thought we made assumptions about what work looks like. and then we had to throw everything we knew out the window and, pivot and move to remote work and hybrid work in some instances. And we found out that in many instances, and some people's minds will never change, right? Some people will always believe everybody belongs in the office all the time. And then they get to deal with a potential employee pool that is not interested in being on site all the time. So there's some challenges, but it has been a really interesting time. And, absolutely, I'm with you in terms of hybrid is not going anywhere. Some combination of in-person, remote makes perfect sense. So, a lot, of course, what is the foundation? What we discovered, the foundation of our lives from both a personal standpoint and a business standpoint, of course, was technology and our ability to connect and collaborate and all of those things. So, Kevin, what technologies have you been paying attention to that you feel like were really driving innovation in 2021?
Well, when I was young, we would. I remember looking at the Jetsons, and George would come home, and Rosie would meet him at the door and take the coat. And these robots were part of everyone's life.
Right.
We are there. We are in the age of the Jetsons, but the robots aren't what we imagine them to be, right? So in 2022, robotic process automation is going to be the killer business app, right? It's expanded and accelerating integration with voice interaction and ambient computing, like Alexa, is going to really drive business competition in 2022. If you don't know how to create and leverage your software robot, you're going to fail in business. The other trend is the democratization and open access to mass media. Look what we're doing right now. But for very little cost, you can reach out to billions of people. Streaming media has broken the stranglehold on power that big media companies have enjoyed for decades.
Right.
And as smaller and smaller media niches have gained an outsized influence over society, companies will really need to continuously tune their outbound channels to reach their end customers.
Right.
And sort of to tag on what Helen said, this is one reason why influencer marketing is really taking off, because in order to understand and connect with your end customers, you have to be a trusted advisor. You have to understand the trenches, what your customers are going through, and how to empathize with the customer's needs and requirements. And in reality, that's what you do as a quote influencer across social media.
Yeah, absolutely. I was asked for a quotation on a topic related to B2B influencer marketing. And I will have to say, perhaps this will resonate with you as well. Part of my answer was, it is my wish that in the near future, we move away from calling B2B subject matter experts influencers, because I think there's a connotation, and I'm very serious. I think there's a connotation that is born of what we see on TikTok and what we see on Instagram, with perfectly coiffed women in pink homes and so in many ways there's a lack of sort of reality involved in some of what we see when it comes to influencer marketing. And so I'm really passionate about, I don't view any of you as influencers. I view you as incredibly smart and deeply experienced subject matter experts who've spent literally your entire careers gaining knowledge, that makes you influential, but I don't see you as an influencer. I see you as a subject matter expert.
Well, I'll have to agree with you on that.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if I'm able to affect change on that front. I doubt it, but we'll see. I don't know. So Glenn, Kevin hit on some really interesting things. I want to talk about missed opportunities. Can you think of a missed opportunity you're seeing right now in how businesses are either investing or not investing in or using or not using technology?
Sure. I think that individuals have done a fantastic job of getting more digital and adjusting their lives to deal with really big challenges. But I think that so many businesses are missing opportunities to leverage technologies that can make businesses far more efficient, safer. AT&T, for example, has one of its technologies, which is the AI video. And the AI video uses a standard video, but it also then gives information to it. And with 5G, it can give that information in real time. And you see the missed opportunity when you go to a store and you see long lines in one section of the store, not another. You see crowds without assistance in a particular area of the store. And AT&T has a solution with its AI video that gives businesses the opportunity to immediately know we need to have more personnel open up registers at this particular area, give assistance to this area, so that it's more efficient, and it's also in the age of COVID a safer environment as well. So I think that businesses, when they think of, for example, a technology like 5G, they think of really fast internet. They need to think of how to leverage that internet to get data that makes their businesses far more efficient, using even that same technology of the AI video. They can even stores and businesses can have smart buildings that can detect whether or not it's a safe environment, whether or not you have people with elevated temperatures, which might suggest a problem that needs to be addressed. So I think businesses really need to reflect on what are the technologies that are here, ready, and how can we leverage them in much smarter ways to make our businesses more efficient and even safer for our customers.
Absolutely. And we also know, I think there's lots of research out there that well-being, health and well-being is top of mind for employees today. And so when organizations can be utilizing those kind of solutions, that employees can look back and go, oh, they care about me, right?
Precise.
They're trying to keep me safe. That's important. So Helen, what is one area of concern? Glenn touched on a few things that you think businesses should be investing resources in the coming year.
Yeah, I believe that we investing in strategy, right? Every company has the strategy. The challenge is how do you align your execution, the processes and resources with the strategy you have in place to better connect the people and make sure they're better informed, engaged, and to stay ahead of the game, because we're all having a front row seat, right, to the acceleration of future forward business model. But the definition of that future forward business model is very different, depends on what business you're in, depends on stage of your business, depends on the complexity or the business you have, or depends on the resources, the talents you have. So business decisions become faster, more agile out of necessity today. So we came to realize that understanding our customers and what they're going through defines being future ready, right? What that means then, what kind of resources you have. So it is a process of discovering the value, what value means for our customers, how we help them better realize their value and optimize their value. But in order to meet that demand, you have to make sure your employees are taken care of. So this is about employee experience matters more in today's environment than ever. And then, if you really want to drive all those things, while looming price increases or distribution, logistics, production, and suppliers capacity are important, being future ready really leans heavily into getting sales capability, marketing, customer experience fully aligned and transformed.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about customers is we pretty much all just want one thing, right? Take my money so that I can buy whatever it is that I think will solve my problem. Doesn't matter what it is, right? I just want to be able to give you my money. I want it to be fast, efficient, easy. I want customer service if I need it. Otherwise, I don't want you in my face. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just want things to be easy. And it's kind of like throughout the pandemic, what customers learned, again, you don't know what you don't know until you know, is, oh my gosh, online grocery ordering. I never tried it before, but it's so convenient, or, the thing
No
that
going
I
back.
the thing that
Yeah.
I discovered during the pandemic is and beyond is that I don't the only thing I carry with me anywhere are keys and my phone. And I've got my ID tucked into my phone. I've got, my credit cards. I mean, I've got Apple Pay and all my credit cards and everything. And I don't like it. I want to pay for something. I want to just wave my phone or my watch over
Mhm.
a point of sale system. I don't want to have to touch anything. I don't want to have, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's like those little technology touches. Does your website make it easy for my customers to do this? And Helen, to your point, we need to keep customers happy and we need to keep employees happy. But when we give employees the tools that they need to do their job more efficiently, more effectively, when we rely on automation solutions to take the mundane, repeatable tasks out of the equation, and we let them focus on bringing more high value solutions, and be able to do things from a work standpoint that are more interesting, we not only have happy employees, but we have happy customers because, I mean, those two things go together. And so I think that you made some really salient points there, Helen, too, as well as, it's not only keeping customers happy by providing great experiences, it's facilitating everything that we can do to make an employee experience great too. And everybody must agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope someday we don't even have to bring the credit cards with us anymore, right?
Right.
Can't wait.
Right.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, and I will say I have what I need on Apple Pay. I do have one credit card that I carry with me just in case, you just never know, right? There's that one time where there's an old school something that doesn't take. So I do that. But it is funny. You just kind of once you realize how easy, and I feel the same way about self-checkout in stores. I would much rather check myself out. I would much rather bag my own things. I would much rather take care of that myself. And, I think it was something that a lot of us learned during a pandemic when we saw such an increase in self-checkouts. And, now we're seeing it in restaurants, right? You go into McDonald's, you go into Panera, you go into a number of restaurants, you submit your order yourself. So technology is really driving a lot of change.
Changing expectations of the consumer and of the customer.
Yeah.
You expect things to be easy, and when they're not easy, you get upset.
Right.
And taking on Kevin's point, we have technologies that are readily available. For example, so many retail stores have said, well, you can't try on clothes because of COVID. Well, we've all been to tech events where you see these magic mirrors that allow
Right.
you to see what you look like in a particular outfit.
Yeah.
They should become common. We're accustomed now to having contactless pay. We should also be accustomed to go into a store and cosmetic stores are doing this, but retail stores have the ability as well with fashion to say, here's what you'll look. You don't even have to try it on, but here's what you look. In fact,
Right.
while we're doing that, we'll also give you a measurement to make sure that the article of clothing is going to fit you well. So these are, again, smart technologies that businesses can tap into to make the experience more enjoyable and more efficient.
Well, and
Although
when
I would say the definition of convenience can be different, right? I sat on the guy sat next to me last night coming back from San Francisco, this flight. He print out at least a stack of paper. He works for a major bank, right? I'm not going to name, but then you was looking at page by page, editing the presentation. I was thinking, man, and that's, really, and then he has a legal pad. Huge, and
Yeah.
user use. And then I was thinking about that, and I purchased the Wi-Fi, right, in-flight Wi-Fi, doing my thing, and then my laptop run out of battery, because it's a long flight. And then I was thinking, man, there's a reason why he did what he was doing, right? So he didn't have to pay for Wi-Fi. He got his work done. But the convenience is really defined by
Yeah.
individual. Everyone has their own way of working or their
Yeah.
way of thinking. So I first thinking I was why he was doing that, and then I came to realization he got a point of doing what he was doing, right? Because then I had to stop working in the middle of my work.
Helen, bring that battery pack next time, Helen.
Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, it depends on who you talk to, and then if you have a critical work you got to get done, you find a way, the most reliable way to get it done. And that's what matters, right? The outcomes really matters more than how you get it done.
Absolutely.
But think about it. The gentleman with all the paper, when you land, he's going to go home and have to type it all into a laptop. So
yeah. But
your half of work might have been better, more efficient.
Yeah.
You never know. Everybody does things differently. I think that's a really important point. And that's also important, in terms of why you need to serve up an omni-channel experience. And you need to understand that just like there are people like Mr. Legal Pad, he wants to do things differently. He wants to perhaps consume information differently or interact with a brand differently. Another thing, Glenn, I was thinking about when you were talking about your retail experience, think about it this way. When you have, for instance, I'm a professional consumer. I buy a lot of things online. But I also go into a retail store because there's sometimes, and it was horrible during COVID, by the way. I have 15-year-old twin daughters, and I would have to go to like the Express or someplace, and I'd spend $1,000 buying, these jeans in 3 different sizes because you couldn't try anything on. So you had to buy everything, bring it home, try it on, take back. But my point is this: when you think about the upselling capability that adding technology, not only service, but sales. So think about this. I'm a customer of a particular retail chain. I buy a lot of things online. I also go in store. So I go in store, there's a dressing room. Maybe there's a smart mirror that has some kind of a QR code or something that I can sign in to an app, or I can sign into, my account on the website. It's like, oh, Shelly, well, look, you bought these 700 things, the last whatever, what, you have this really cute skirt. Well, guess what? There's a, and like intuitively, they could know your shopping history. They have that data.
Yeah.
Your shopping history, your size. You don't know all the things that are in store, but you could be working with a sales associate who can pull up that information. And it's like, so when you think about the convenience in that, I can try things on using smart technology. I can access help from a sales associate being in my dressing room with that. There's nothing worse than when you're in your dressing room and you need, you don't have any clothes on and you need things in a different size. And, you've kind of been abandoned in the dressing room, right? And sometimes you have to put your clothes back on to go out and get another size. So to be able to communicate, they're just so many applications there, and retail isn't the only one, but the point is, not only can you deliver better, more personalized, data-driven service, the opportunity for revenue growth is exponential.
And Shelly, you make a great point with the personalization and customization. So if you had that sort of a smart mirror that you can send to it, retaining some of your information. So when you go back to that favorite store of yours, you can immediately go to the magic mirror and it will tell you all the sizes of items that fit you that are in the store or can easily be brought to your home, so that you might not even want to carry it home, but you can say, when I get home tomorrow, it'll be there for me in my size, in my color that I like.
Exactly. And again, I think that many consumers are interested in one thing. Here's my money. I want to give it to
Dangerous
you.
tool.
I want to give it to you. Let's make this easy on me and on you. And I think that really, when you can think about all the experiences, whether it's, in a stadium venue or in a retail venue or in a manufacturing situation, all kinds of things. There's so many, I think, exciting solutions out there. And that's, so let's move on just a little bit and we'll talk about, okay, so there's lots of solutions. I just laid the foundation for that. But there's also limited time and limited resources. How, Kevin, do businesses balance that? How do you balance the need to plan long-term with the need to stay flexible, those lessons that we learned so quickly during the beginning of the pandemic and beyond?
Well, the first thing is to forget about that misnomer that you can plan. Because we're in a world of accelerating change. That's what transformation means, and it's not going to stop. Not only is it going to continue to change, but we don't know where it's going, and it's not going to a single location. It's going into multiple endpoints because, as we said many times, everybody likes different things.
Right.
And and sort of to go along with that, we were talking about the need to have remote employees. What about the remote non-employee that you need to help you deal with all of this change? This is why we have the gig economy.
Right.
So organizations need to put in place processes and policies for leveraging that gig economy. When things change, you need to be able to go out into the marketplace and identify the right person or the right partner or the right skill set
Right.
to bring into your ecosystem. And they're going to be remote. They're not going to be your employee. You're not going to be working on your infrastructure. So the remote use of independent contractors may be the most economical way for dealing with change,
Right.
dealing with operational enhancements. Okay, so designing, building, and learning how to manage your business ecosystem in this constantly and accelerating world of change is how you maintain business flexibility.
Yeah, no, and that's so important. So, Glenn, talk with us a little bit, if you would, about, okay, so we've talked about trends, we've talked about business capabilities that we think we need. What skills and capabilities do businesses need to develop so that we can capitalize on what we see happening here?
I think there's a fundamental core skill, and it has to do with cybersecurity. When we depend so much on technology, all of us have got to become much more informed about cybersecurity. And I think businesses need to give employees the opportunity for ongoing education to make sure that we all understand what can we do to protect our personal data, our business data, because it's really about trust. And I think that that's got to become perhaps even the number one priority, because everything else depends upon that trust. And cybersecurity is an area which deals not only with hardware, but very much about employees having the training so that they can be smart as they work in that hybrid, remote, and on-site environment.
Right. Absolutely. I will tell you, you're spot on there. Our research here at Futurum has shown that we did a study here in the last year of senior leaders, some of whom were IT CISOs and CIOs and that sort of thing, but then just other senior business leaders. And security was understandably at the very, very top of everyone's priority list. In fact, it was even more important in terms of their budget priorities and their focus priorities than cloud was. And it's because, cloud is becoming more ubiquitous. I mean, there's still a ways to go, but security is just really foundational for mitigating risk, managing risk, and that sort of thing. And you're absolutely right in terms of, when it comes to continuous learning, reskilling, a lot of that ties into the ability to not only attract talent in what is a very difficult time to hire, and also retain talent. It's like, employees are looking at this equation with what have you done for me lately? And what opportunities am I having to really learn and grow myself and grow in my career? And I think that is, you touched on some important things there for sure.
Yeah, please excuse me for butting in, but if we're going to talk about security, we have to say privacy also.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there are two different things, and both of them are critical in this world.
Absolutely. Yes. In the second part of research, we did a huge study in 2020 called The Future of Customer Experiences Now. And we interviewed 2,000 brand side experts and 2,000 consumers across the globe. And what customers told us bar none, the very top of their concerns list was privacy, their own privacy, and
Mhm.
how brands use their data. And they don't like it, they don't understand it, and they don't feel like they have any control over it. So you're absolutely right. Privacy is a very, very top concern.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Helen, let's talk a little bit about what we can expect going into 2020. What 2022, what pitfalls do you see that you think businesses need to look out for?
Well, this is a topic I'm most passionate about. I hope you have enough time to carve out for this. Let's start right before we jump into 2022. Well, let's talk about 2020. It was a year of adaptation. And then we get into 2021. This is the year of reflection, planning, maybe experimenting some of the transformation. And getting into 2022, that will be a year of optimization and acceleration. Right. So that's being said, I think there are three things that business can do. The number one is they need to start thinking about how they build a company-wide transformation experience. Maybe they experimented a small area of piloting AI or emerging technology, but then getting that should start with hire and keep the right talents as well as promote collaboration, right,
Right.
with remote and hybrid working workforce. And then you got to create an environment where people trust the leadership direction of changes and are willing to embrace new tools and develop future looking skills so that they can accelerate some of the transition. And then the second thing is, how do you create a culture of learning, right? I've worked with many companies that they hire the people without enabling them, without setting up the right expectation. And then it's critical to revisit the job description for each of the function, because the old way of thinking the finance team might be a back office option today, just having finance skills does not serve that need anymore, right? You need someone who understands technology, you need a storyteller to really communicate with the remote workforce. So you have to revisit that and then really understand the skill set you have in-house, and how do you train them, upskill them, and then also maybe hire additional people with complementary skill set to really build that. And that's okay for people to know, hey, I do not know how to do this, and then create a culture of that. And people feel comfortable to say, how do I learn more
Right.
about the things I do not know, right? And then encourage the employees to learn from each other. And then the third thing is, how do you streamline the core practices to drive alignment, accountability around the digital transition? And you got to embrace a streamlined and more agile practice, right? So that means setting up the right expectation and having measurement in place to hold people accountable, promote people based on performance, not based on relationship.
Right. Well, I think you're spot on there for sure. Culture is everything. And there's so much about, we read about the great resignation every day. We see, especially in the tech industry, how difficult it is to find and recruit and keep talent. And so organizations, I think we are all old enough that we came of age in a time where you were darn lucky to have a job and, you stayed around for a long time, because if you hadn't stayed somewhere for at least 5 years, you were a job hopper. And, you're laughing, but that's
No, it's true.
that's certainly how I worked my way up the corporate ladder. And again, I was felt grateful to have a job at a time when jobs weren't necessarily plentiful. And we are in a situation now where, prospective employees are looking at things really deeply. And, does this culture, do I feel like it's a fit? Does this fit in my own idea of work-life balance? Those things are becoming more and more important.
Yeah, the good
Yeah.
news is we are able to redefine, right, what work should look
Right.
like for all of us, and because that could be, different things for each of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, is there anything, my brilliant friends, that we haven't touched on as part of this conversation that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I have one thing that we haven't talked about, and every business is going to have to really critically think about their role in the virtual business world, aka the newest buzz term, the metaverse, right? Because both the virtual and physical worlds are real, and neither can be ignored.
Right.
The customers exist in both worlds, and you, as a service provider, the organization needs to build capabilities for seamlessly and simultaneously operating and serving their customers and business partners in both worlds. So, I mean, it's a big buzz term right now, but it is really where we exist today and where we are going. And this is going to be getting back to what Helen was talking about, this continuous learning and understanding within your organization is going to be critical to that.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. One of the things, too, I think that, I'm always grateful, and I have a feeling that the three of you are wired pretty much the same way. But, I do feel like we kind of get what we get when it comes to how our personalities are and how we feel about things like change. And
Mhm.
I have always been so grateful that I am wired for change, and I function really well in a high state of chaos, and I can quickly pivot and adapt. And those are just things I lucked out and got as part of my personality or my character attributes. But I think that, and I know you all well enough to know that in many ways you are wired the same,
Well,
right?
it's not chaos. It's accelerated adaptation.
You know what? I will remind myself that. And part of my chaos comes from, I'm running a family of companies, I'm raising kids, I'm juggling many, many balls. And so sometimes it does feel chaos, but I do like tell me again what that phrase is.
Adaptive adaptation, accelerating adaptation.
Accelerating adaptation. Okay, I'm going to file that away and I'm going to use that. But I think my advice is, regardless of the size of your organization, regardless of the size of, regardless of where your industry focuses, you must learn to embrace change because there is much change ahead for
Yes.
all of us. And technology is a big driver of that change. I remember years and years ago having a boss who proudly said to me, this shows how old I am. He said, "Oh my God, email. Oh my God, I would never, like, I don't have email. I'm never going to use email." And I remember thinking, even back, I was thinking, "Oh, you sweet thing, you're a dinosaur. Bless your heart." Um, but change is a given. And as quickly as it seems like things have accelerated over the last handful of years, we can all promise you that that acceleration is going to continue. There are great technology solutions that are no-brainers to explore as part of your business. And I think there are really interesting times ahead. So be prepared for change, be strategic about it, follow and listen to these brilliant friends of mine on a regular basis. I'll include their links to their LinkedIn profiles and their links to their Twitter profiles so that you can reach out and connect with them. I thank you so much, my friends, for being guests today on this AT&T BizTalks Roundtable. And thank you, of course, to AT&T Business for making this happen. And thanks to everyone who watched and engaged with us and were part of this conversation. This is a conversation we love having.
You're here.
So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to our audience, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you for having us, Shelly.
Thank you. Thank you. Good seeing you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.